Hey everyone, this is Darren, host of the No Guts No Galaxy podcast. The following is the unedited MechWarrior 5 Mercenaries update number 2 that took place on January 30th, 2020, and it features Russ Bullock, Garden and Matt Newman from Piranha Games. It covers modding, DLC, and a bit about the future of MechWarrior Online. It lasts for about an hour, so we're going to just jump right in. Enjoy.
And now for something completely different.
4, 3, 2, 1.
Hi. Welcome to the future.
Remember, no guts, no galaxy.
Okay, I guess there's no reason to wait, huh? Let's just get to it.
Yeah, we're good to go.
Yeah, okay, so I have Garden, producer on MechWarrior 5 with me today. And we have three subjects to cover today. We're going to spend the most time probably talking about modding and trying to clear up some misunderstandings. But just to be clear, we're not a couple of engineers. This isn't like a class on how to mod or how to, do this, that, or the other that you want to get done for your mod. This is more about high-level questions that people must be having right now, like, for example, why can't I modify mech movement speed? Or why is it so hard to share my mod with my friends? Or how do we load up my friend's mod? Higher level things. So give me 1 second to turn off this dinging notification thing. There, sorry. I usually do that beforehand. So that's the type of stuff we're going to be talking about. And then I'm sure when we get into questions, we'll get into some finer bits and pieces on modding again around, why and how you can share mods and what our plans are for our upcoming update to address the modding situation and how to make it easier. Essentially, there's like a 3-step process to get the modding aspect totally done for MechWarrior 5 Mercs. And so we'll go into that in a minute, and then the other subject is around DLC plan. And this isn't an announcement dev update for what DLC Piranha is going to be doing, but I do want to give at least enough hints about our plans for DLC so that you as mod makers can make the most informed decisions possible. Everyone's free to mod whatever they want to mod, but I want to make sure that people don't get caught spending significant amounts of their own precious time just to see Piranha, put certain things into a first DLC pack that is, exactly what you were working on. That would be, unfortunate, and I want to make sure that you get to make the most informed decisions possible on what you spend your modding time on. So, and then I'll definitely say just a couple quick words about MechWarrior Online because, well, everyone's asked me to. So we'll say a few things. So those are the 3 main subjects. And Alex, I think what I'll do is I'll set you up with a bit of a preamble on modding.
Let's do it.
Okay. So I approach this as an end user, kind of like you guys. I try to think like some of you guys out there that are mod makers, or some of you are just looking to play mods. So there's really 3 steps to getting the mod work done for MechWarrior 5 Mercs. The first step was to put the editor in your hands. And the editor is the full meal deal. It's the same thing we use to make the game with. So you have that now, and it's in your hands to make mods with. Now, the second step is to provide a way for you to share, send and receive, and play people's mods. Because right now, with the editor version, it's very, very difficult to share them with people. People have been doing it a little bit. It's not impossible, but it's quite difficult to get them outside of the editor environment and to get into the end users' hands. So the second step is for us to update the game with the ability to share and load and browse and play people's mods. That's the step we're going to be talking about here today in a minute. And then the third step, which is a little further distant, is more like sort of the Steamworks aspect and the Epic Game Store equivalent of that. And so we'll touch on it a little bit after we're done with number 2. But Alex, why don't you let us know and let the people know what we have planned to accomplish number 2, and that is for them to be able to share or play their friends' mods for MechWarrior 5 Mercs.
Yeah, okay. So, hey, everybody, just a intro preamble. If you've been in the Mod General or Mod Builder chats of the last week or so, you've probably seen me pop in and out of there. I'm the producer at Piranha working on Mech 5. Right now, overseeing the mod support, making sure that the next updates that we push to this thing is kind of leveraging exactly what you guys are trying to do and remove the blockers that you might be encountering. That's kind of what I'm focusing on the most at the moment. And so we're working on our next kind of big update, the next big milestone in the mod editor supports. The one we pushed out yesterday was really just to coincide with the main game patch. However, it did actually include our audio source files. So that's around 17 and 20 gigs of audio source, which now fully unlocks audio mods within Wise, which is awesome. That was actually supposed to go into our next big update, but fortunately it managed to sneak its way into yesterday. So basically, as Russ suggested, the next big update is kind of just focusing on that next step. So the cooking and packaging process, first and foremost, right now, as you said, people have sorted it out in a fashion. It's extremely frustrating to do it. And you're all kind of jumping through a lot of unnecessary hoops just because the official support isn't quite there for you. So that's one of the things we're working on. So that next big update is planned to have official kind of built into the editor streamlined method for you to cook and package your mods. And handling things like setting load order and setting all the stuff that you've kind of been working around. And the solutions people have found have been great, and it's awesome to see the excitement and the number of mods has been super cool. So this will make that a lot easier and a lot less painful to do, which at the moment it kind of is. And beyond that, it's also just the official support for bringing the mods into the game. So right now it's functional. You can take a substitution mod into the main game and have it work. But again, it's not quite official, so it doesn't quite work the way you might want it to or as well as you might want it to. So we're basically working on support for the official integration of not just substitution mods, where you've taken an existing asset and modified it like a weapon or something and push that into the game, but new asset mods. So if you're creating a new weapon type or a new equipment type or any other kind of new asset, the game is going to be able to read that in and handle it appropriately. So that'll unlock a whole new area of things rather than just substitution, actual creativity and full creativity of being able to make something distinct and unique that the game doesn't currently have. And along the way, we'll clean up some things, like at the moment, the mod editor is missing a few particle assets. So if you've been using the mod editor and you're walking around, you're shooting off weapons and blowing things up, you may notice the missing materials and missing particles for certain things. We'll be fixing that up in the next push. The dialogue system that we use for handling NPC interactions in the campaign and the Leopard Hangar, you'll have access to that as well. So you'll be able to actually build dialogue chains with NPCs if you wanted to do that for some sort of campaign mod, which is awesome. And so just to finish really with the main blockers that everybody have been encountering. So a good example of this is the movement component. So one of the first things people started doing was trying to mod something like an engine, the concept of an engine as a piece of equipment into the game, which you can sort of do in the sense that you can make a piece of equipment called an engine and give it certain equipment stats and have a mech equip that thing. But what's missing is that link between actually being able to have the engine modify the mech in any way. So movement stats in particular is something that hasn't been exposed to blueprints. So it's important to note that exposing a variable from a code function in Unreal for our project is not an implicit thing. It's not just automatically exposed. We have to, the engineers go through and determine, according to the needs of design and whomever else on the team, what needs to be exposed to blueprints. So unfortunately, the mech movement component is a good example of something that we just didn't need exposed to blueprints very much throughout development. I think there's a couple things in there that we did expose. I think they were done to service the tutorial, where we had to kind of massage mech movement a little bit more manually through sequences and things like that. But you know, generally, if you're trying to make a piece of equipment like an engine, you can't just say, "Hey, grab the mech stats, the mech movement stats, and you know, increase the max speed." Because that variable is not exposed to blueprints, it just doesn't let you do that. So that's been a huge point of frustration for everybody, which is completely understandable. Other areas like the inventory model. So our game is comprised of various what we call models. So, you know, the inventory model or the finance model. These are frameworks that basically handle that component of the game. So the inventory model will handle things like the number of mech slots available, cold storage systems, and stuff like that. So those are other examples of things where if you've been poking around the editor and you try to modify those things, you may have seen, you know, 24 things that you can get, like the variable you can get, but you just can't set them. You can't set the number of storage slots. You can get them, but you can't set them. So it's those kind of blocks where during development we didn't need to expose those things. We need to now go and expose those things to everybody so that it fully unlocks the power of the modding support. So that's something we're fully on board with and full steam ahead on, because you know, when I'm moderating the mod work and the mod channels and I see somebody hit a block like that, like it hurts me just as much as it hurts anybody else, because I can get that frustration of you're just one step away from being able to pull this mod off if you could just modify that one variable. So we need to fix that. So as you identify these blocks, we'll just go through and resolve those and find ways that we can kind of expose these systems to a much deeper level to modding. So yeah, like nothing was blocked for modding from the outset. It was just that we never needed to expose them. So now that we do, we're definitely going to. So movement statistics is you know, top of the list, obviously. So you can start unlocking more MechLab mods with interesting pieces of equipment. And then we'll go through the metagame systems, campaign systems, and try to kind of identify, it's like if a player were to try and mod this system, what's the first block they would come up against? And usually, obviously, it's going to come down to these lack of exposed variables. So we'll expose as much of that as possible, and that will really kind of, I think, make the mod editor what some people had hoped and expected it might be out the gate. So we'll get it to that state, and mod support will basically just get better from here on out, which is exciting to see. So all right, that pretty much covers it.
Yeah, I was just gonna say. Sorry, struggling here. Number one, a little bit of background noise on you, Alex. Not egregious, but I'm not sure where you found a hide, but it's not quite the greatest. So some things in recap. Basically, if there's something you got blocked by, it's almost universal. The answer is no, we didn't mean to block that. That was not some intended thing to say we're not going to allow you to mod that or anything like that. It's something that in the game system, the way we made the game, it was done in code, and we didn't expose the variables to blueprints. So now we will. Is that a correct kind of recap on that aspect, Alex?
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Okay, so that's, some of you were wondering about that. So that's coming. So obviously the next question that I want to have is say, sounds awesome. You know, when can we have that? So we're always tentative to give out specific dates, because specific dates in game development rarely work out. But I can say that we're talking weeks here, not months. So there was a hope for us to kind of get something out in the month of February, and we have a particular kind of date in mind, and we're pushing for that. So it's essentially February come, like, well, not tomorrow, but any day now, right? So it gives you a sense. It's not too far off, but probably a million years away for those of you chomping at the bit. So all we can say is we're working on it as hard as we can, and I guess that's because we are pushing for something pretty like legit here. Not like just going to expose a few variables and push it out. I mean, this, being as, I guess, cautious as we can, Alex. I mean, did we make mention of how those pack files would be shared, and that there would be some kind of I guess the really good news about this is that we are hoping that same patch I just talked about under that time frame would have some actual in-client support for showing those mods, right?
Yeah, that's the case. So we're still hoping for this update to also include the in-game interface for being able to manage the activation and deactivation of whatever mods you have installed. So that's still part and parcel of the work we're doing right now, and still scoped for the same release. So we're just going to keep working toward that goal and make sure that, like Russ suggested, make sure that this isn't just some incremental update of improved functionality, but like a more clear progression to the next stage of mod support.
Right. So, I mean, in a best case scenario, and if everything goes perfectly to plan, then perhaps in the latter part of February, we'll be able to push that update out, and that'll have, again, not just expose these variables, but it'll be really, will allow you to even browse the various mods and load and unload them. So that, in conjunction with the editor that you already have, will be pretty much, full force, no holds barred, modding capable in that time frame. So that's great. And then maybe that's a time where we talk about this like distant number 3 thing. So number 3 just means integration then into a larger marketplace like Steamworks. And since we do have the 1-year exclusivity in Epic Games Store, we're waiting on the Epic Games Store to put out their version of Steamworks, and that's not my area to announce. That's for Epic. So anything they're working on there is confidential and like their own roadmaps and stuff. But I can, I think, say that there is some signs, and I do think that we will see something. We'll definitely I'll just say, now we're talking months, but it's on the radar. So, but I think it'll be easy for everyone to sort of wait, for that final aspect. If they get, this number 2 update we're talking about fully in your hands, and I think you'll be relatively satisfied. Then you can, find these third-party sites like Nexus Mods or whatever it's called to easily share your mods, and then, and you'll be pretty much home free. Is that what do you think about that, Alex? Is that correct?
Yeah, I'd say that it's accurate. I mean, already if you go on Nexus, you can see the mod community being built and created over the last few weeks since release. So, this next update will make it a lot easier to keep doing that and iterate on your mods, get them onto Nexus, distribute them through the existing means. But when we're talking about that third milestone, that kind of concept of built-in workshop support, or whatever the terminology might be, we'll just kind of make it one step easier, expose it to not just people who are like actively engaged in the modding community and know where to look, but being able to launch up the game and browse the available mods that are out there easier. So getting better visibility for the mods you make, and just kind of making it easier to find stuff and do cool shit with the mod support.
Gangster. Okay. That's great. So we'll look for questions when we open questions. And, we can answer some more that come up in that kind of subject matter. So I do want to talk real quick about, and, I don't want to kind of ruin our opportunity to announce our DLC at some point and give really specific, marketing announcement bits and pieces of the box, or the bullet points. So I don't want to do that here today, but I am definitely cognizant of people's time, and I want to make sure that people who are creating mods make the best decisions they can, so that they're creating something they're both passionate about, but they're also feel like it'll have, a lot of need and longevity in the game. And so some of you might not care, necessarily what we have planned. You're just going to do your thing because you got your own particular take and spin on it and stuff. And I think that's great. So you should do whatever you want to do. But I'll throw out some. There are probably more than just hints. There's some fairly big, pieces of information. Our first DLC pack is planned for April, and I won't get more specific than that. But we do have one planned for April, and the largest aspect of this DLC mode will be around a much more robust freeform career mode. I wanted to bring that up just in case. I'm sure that's a very easy target or a very logical target for, I think, modders. You play the game currently, and I'd say out of the box, it does a pretty respectable job of allowing you to free roam. But ultimately, you are forced to take on story missions from time to time. And maybe the bigger distraction is the Warzone system, based on the reputation, really is like one particular linear path up through the inner sphere and this path that we gave for the story. So, if someone wants to persist, say, just Davian, it's really not possible. It's only possible up to a particular, reputation point, and then you're really kind of forced to move on. So I don't want to get into the specifics, but just realize that there will be a mode that's more purely free roaming and utilizes a lot of existing systems, but just removes those those kind of barriers or things that prevent you from being as free playing as you'd like to be. So now it's very important for us also to get this out in the first DLC, because we really feel like all future content, whether official content from Piranha or even modding content, would be much better served to be able to exist in this new, better sort of free roaming backbone in the game. So that's the biggest thing I wanted to mention. The other thing is around mechs. So a lot of people have mentioned that, Mech 5 is missing some mechs. Like, our statement was, well, if it's in the timeline and it's doesn't involve equipment that we don't have in Mech 5, then it's in Mech 5. Now, that was not entirely true, because the one little element that I'd forgotten was we also stopped taking mechs from MechWarrior Online at a certain point. Just to be able to get done MechWarrior 5, there was a cutoff date where we're like, okay, back when we were still putting out, monthly mechs for Mech 5, we had to make it, we had a cutoff. So there were some of those that didn't make it. So those are obvious targets for us to get those remaining chassis in, ones that fit within our timeline of Mech 5. And there was also, obviously, we're going to be adding some equipment that will then unlock a bunch of other variants as well. So just in general, you can think there'll be a lot of mech unlocking, whether it's through brand new chassis, missing variants, missing equipment, stuff like that. Just want to put that out there, because obviously mechs will be very easy targets for people too. Say, hey, I'm going to put these missing mechs in. Certainly welcome to do so, but just know that that's something we are looking at as well very strongly. And obviously when Piranha does it, mod teams could do this too. It would just be more difficult. When we add a chassis, for example, then we'll be adding all the proper damage models and everything. Each mech takes something like 20 different model damage states to put together properly. So that's kind of I want to throw that out there. And of course, you look at garrisons and biomes, mission types. Think of expanding on the this free career mode that it opens up the game a lot more. So that's kind of where Piranha Games is going to be focusing. So if you were going to do one of those things, maybe you'll think about it a little bit differently, just to make sure that you're working effectively with your time. Or if you were already saying, hey man, I'm making an RTS, it's like, great. I mean, that's you're safe. That's your work's not going to be getting done by us. Yeah. So yeah, I think maybe we'll just take questions. Maybe there'll be a few questions we can answer in the chat when we open it up. Weapon types, stuff like that. I don't know. Alex, unless you have something else to add, maybe we just. I think we'll take. I don't know. We'll start it. We'll open it up. We'll take up to 30 minutes with questions, but if we run short on questions that are. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be answering questions that are related to the subjects that we talked about here today. And we'll be very kind of liberal, skipping over a lot of questions if they're not related to the two subjects. So don't get mad. That's just what we're going to do. And we're going to answer questions based on these topics. And we'll do that for up to 30 minutes. But quickly before we do that, MechWarrior Online, everyone's looking for me to say something. There's no way I can possibly say enough here today to really make you feel great and like feel like we really made MechWarrior Online a major focus of today's dev update. I hope that wasn't, I don't think that was the expectation. It was clearly a MechWarrior 5 dev update, but I will take just a minute to talk about how I know the community has been, I guess, nervous about MechWarrior Online and wondering if, what the future holds for it. And people have been organizing some play sessions and just trying to make sure that, Piranha Games knows that you're still all interested in it. I get that. There is no, brand new roadmap or patch plan yet as of this point. If you can imagine us, working right through to December 10th on MechWarrior 5 Mercs, then putting out 3 different patches between the 10th and the 20th to make sure that our game Mech 5 was in as good a shape as possible over the Christmas break. Then we all come back, most of the office in by January 6th, which is just like 2.5 weeks ago, or 3.5 rather. And then we work as hard as we can to get, a DLC plan in mind, as well as put out another Mech 5 patch and put out our MechWarrior Online patch the other day. And so things are really getting going now. We're going on this, first DLC for Mech 5. We've got some really important work to do on this modding stuff to make sure that gets out there. And so, we're getting to a point definitely where we start to think about MechWarrior Online and try to figure out what the future holds for it. At this time, I don't have that plan yet because we're just getting there as I described, but there's no reason, I guess, to worry at the moment. Like MechWarrior Online is still important to us as well, and it's it's there. It's people still enjoy it. It's a very long running stable product for us, and we're happy that people are still find it important. So I guess for now we're just monitoring, and we appreciate everyone's interest in it, and just allow us to give us some more time and patience to really understand what if anything is the best thing to do for MechWarrior Online at this point. So I'm afraid if that's dissatisfying, I apologize, but that's the best I can do at this point for MechWarrior Online. Just take some solace in the fact that, yeah, we're happy that you like it still. We're happy that you're still playing it, and we're happy to continue to let it exist. And who knows, it could exist for many years yet to come. Right at this point, I don't have much more of an update than that, I'm afraid. So, but I did want to talk about it just a little bit so that you guys could hear it from me personally. And then, if there's a couple questions that make sense again as well, then maybe we'll get a little more information than that. So, Matt, I guess let's open it up. Yeah.
Boom.
Okay, I'm going to jump in here. I'm not sure if somebody started working on PvP mods, so I wanted to ask if you're okay with unlocking stuff for that. I mean, yes. Even though we have MechWarrior Online, there wasn't some decision made by us that like, oh no, we're going to do whatever we can to like block that capability or something. We're not. I think if you want to make a PvP mod, you go right ahead. And if there's certain things we need to unlock, then that'll fall into the list that Alex was talking about, and make sure that we're doing whatever we can to unlock it. Just be cognizant of, before you spend your time on that it will be a significantly different experience than, say, MechWarrior Online, just because of a lot of the basic infrastructure that just simply isn't there with MechWarrior 5 Mercs. MechWarrior 5 Mercs is a peer-to-peer game only. So even if you were to mod that to make it more of a client-server connection, that would be like a monumental amount of work right there, just absolutely massive. And then even if you did that, you wouldn't be server authoritative likely, and so that the cheats would be incredible, and there wouldn't be any server authentication or server-side hit detection verification. So I guess that's just a way for me to sort of puff out my chest a little bit and say, MechWarrior Online has significant networking layers backing it up that you don't see, and the complexity of that background stuff is massive. But maybe you don't care about all that. Maybe it's like, okay, we don't care about server-side authentication or whatever. It's just we want to do some basic PvP stuff. Wonderful. No one's going to stand in your way. Sounds great. With one of the people at PGI who designed levels to be able to make a tutorial video, show how you make a custom level. I don't know.
Yeah, I can touch on this a little bit. So in the initial guide, the mod guide that came with the mod editor, there's a few basic sections in there just to get people started for making a weapon and spawning a mech and whatnot. So I do plan on keeping that guide updated with each major milestone of the mod editor update. Level creation and scenario, like mission creation in general, is one of those things that didn't put in the initial mod guide simply because it's a bit complex. So you can technically, if you have the mod editor right now, people have everything they need to make a mission, make a level. It's just a matter of, as your question suggests, it's a matter of how does it even get done. So the process for making a scenario and building a level comprised of the tiles that we use for our typical mission generation, it's just all the information is so nebulous to the end users and the mods. That's really the problem there. So whether or not it's going to be a video, I don't know, but documentation in general for the creation of missions, creation of levels is definitely coming.
Okay. Jackal DLC plans for biomes, mission modes. I want to keep a lot of our DLC plans secret, but the answer is yes. So the biomes, mission modes, yes. Expanding on those areas for sure. Missing betting sounds. Yeah, this comes up once in a while. I mean, I guess I'm just gonna say, Alex, Carrie, if you're listening, take note. Maybe there are a few pieces that are missing that we'd want to add. DLC is pre-purchasable, but like a DLC like pass type thing. Great question. I don't know. I don't think so. Like, I'm not so sure that we have that we're positive on exactly how many there were going to be. These are just things that are tougher for a smaller company like Piranha to say, you know what, we're going to make 3 for sure, guaranteed. We know that we're making 1, and we're pretty dang sure there's going to be at least a second, and that's kind of as far as we see into the future. So I don't know that there will be a pack. I think they'll just be separate. In the future, when Mech 5 goes to Steam, could I migrate my account to Steam? No, I'm afraid that won't be possible. The game will be up for sale on Steam when the exclusive is over, and you can buy it there. Well, I mean, Steam allows you to import your games or whatever, if that's what you meant, like meaning browse your hard drive and just launch it through Steam. But it won't be like you bought it on Steam, though. I don't know. I'm not the biggest expert on that kind of stuff. Alex, do you know?
Not specifics, no.
Yeah, I mean, I think I said that right. I don't think in the way that you're. If I'm taking your insinuation correctly, no, it won't be like just put into your library as though you own it on Steam as well. You can go through that sort of like, manual mode of adding it or something. But we'll see. Maybe I'm missing you there. Apologies if so. Improvements to dropships be DLC mods or part of the continuous improvements. Improvements to dropship, speed DLC. Probably a bit of both, I guess, is the way I'd answer that.
Yeah, at least we have at least 2 modders working on updates to the Leopard dropship interior, I believe, and somebody's trying to get the Union into missions as well. So,
Cold Dog, I think, like I say, the first DLC pack is focused on kind of laying a much more robust, free roaming backbone to the game in this career mode, and then that will kind of help open up the possibility, I think, for people to do their own historical event DLCs or like mod pack. Yeah, new mission types again. I'll just say that I think that's absolutely on the way. Gun bucket. I think I'm just gonna have to say thanks for this. We're gonna have to just let designers and people here internally. Now that we've got this on record here, they can come read this and see what stuff sticks and what might make it in or something. If a modder develops an item that's included in future DLC, would the mod be allowed to stay or will be forced to be taken down? I hate answering these things because I might be surprised that there's something I didn't think of, but I don't think this is a problem. Like, if there's a mech that, like I talked about, that isn't in MechWarrior 5 right now because we don't have ECM in MechWarrior 5, and then a modder adds ECM and adds that mech, and then our first DLC pack comes out and we add ECM and that mech, that's fine. We're not going to go to the modder and say, get rid of your mod. Not everybody's going to mod. Not everyone's going to run mods. Not everyone's going to even think about modding. So we kind of look at the game like, well, there might be some cases we'd say we'll leave that to modders. But those are things that I guess it comes down to a judgment of like what we think is worth it for like our development time in the studio and what the general customers want. And so it's a situation where maybe there's a mod that adds ECM in that mech, a month sooner than our DLC even comes out. And if that's valuable to people, wonderful. And then when our version comes out, you can either use that or not, or the customers that never think about modding ever, will have it as well. So my answer is no, I don't believe the mods will be asked to come down or anything. Access to scripts like AI behavior. I'm not sure how to answer that. Is that entirely all in C and there's not really a way to, how would you extend?
Yeah, so I was looking, there was a couple questions about this earlier today in the mod chat. So I was looking into, what kind of blocks people might encounter if they started modding AI right now. So at the moment, most of our AI is handled in behavior trees, which are modifiable assets. So a good portion of that stuff is there and just waiting to be modded. There are a couple components like how the AI handles when and how it fires at weapon groups that are a little bit deeper, not as easily modifiable, and sometimes not modifiable because they're just nested in code. So that kind of falls into what I was going through earlier about identifying these blocker spots and trying to address them so that we can basically unlock that functionality for modding. So that's AI is on that list for sure, but at least over the short term, behavior trees and roles, a lot of those systems are there and available for modding already.
Universal hardpoints. I think that's a modder type thing. That's not something that probably is on our radar for us to do, but I think once we get done with these sort of unlock variable type stuff we've been talking about, then that's something that modders can absolutely do, I would imagine. Temperature affecting heat. Will it get added with a DLC pack? I don't know. That's not something that's like top of mind for us, believe it or not. I think just mostly because so many years of MechWarrior Online and people hating the heat in maps and how the temperature maps got voted down constantly. We're probably scarred from that a little bit, and it's probably shouldn't be as much when it comes to a PvE product as we are. So yeah, I mean, it's just going to take a note down here to bring that up to the team. It's just not something that ends up being top of mind, I don't think. I don't know, Alex, does that come up?
It's come up. It's funnily enough, it's actually one of the things that when I'm monitoring the mod channels and trying to get a sense of what people are trying to do and where they might be getting blocked, I'll often, like Russ mentioned earlier, that approaching it like a user. So I've actually modded heat volumes, functioning heat volumes that can be told to be cooling volumes or heating volumes. So I know there are a couple people on the team who like heat volumes and those things. I do. I'm one of them. It's kind of why I modded that test at least. So it's definitely possible. As for what the design team might intend for official release, I can't speak to.
Yeah, we can keep that close to our vest anyhow. What about the C++ question? Is this something we can answer? Or we just have to... So actually, before you answer that, okay, I'll let you answer that. Just one thing I'll say first is I do think we're planning as a follow-up to today. I don't know when exactly. Maybe it would make more sense to wait until this update by us comes out with all the new modding functionality. But maybe we'll do it before then. Is to have another one of these, but not necessarily a voice one like this here today. Probably more of a text-based AMA. And what we'd do is we'd have a handful of the actual engineers in here, and people can type questions around modding, and they'll just spend an hour like basically typing and answering out as many things as they can. So that's kind of something we're looking to follow up on. But anyhow, I'll go ahead and answer that.
Yeah, so code mods. So at the moment, we're not scoping this into our next update. We're still kind of the investigation phase for how we might handle that. So it's definitely on our minds. I can't speak to anything officially just yet because we are still focusing on making sure that the content side of modding is where we want it to be. And when I say content, I don't just mean like art assets and things like that, but anything just not code. I basically just referring to as content mods. So data tables and metagame mods and all those kinds of different bits and bobs. I'd refer to as content mods. So code side stuff, there are some interesting problems that poses we'd have to resolve just from a technical standpoint, but we will be looking into it.
Cool. Okay, I'm going to try to move through a little quicker. Other UI improvements coming for co-op. I'm going to skip that one, not because it's great. It's a great question. Some of the stuff we'll just have to leave for DLC, and some of it needs to be a surprise. Clan Invasion. Yeah, it definitely would have to be a much larger scale DLC. So when I was talking about mechs before, I didn't bring up clan mechs. We've talked about them internally. Obviously, it's like a giant low-hanging fruit there. And your point on CGL's Clan Invasion Kickstarter is well taken. And yeah, that was pretty tremendous success. So yeah, Snake, thanks for those thoughts and ideas. I know we're all interested in playing clans, that's for sure. Have you considered the possible synergy of using MechWarrior 5 as a single-player co-op game, MW as a PvP option, and supporting them both? Are you intending to keep PvP out of MechWarrior 5? Yeah, Renzer. At the moment, we are. This is a much larger conversation here because I know a lot of times you'll get MechWarrior Online players saying, like update MechWarrior Online to MechWarrior 5. That's just code-wise or rendering engine-wise. So that's totally dedicated 20-minute Q&A answer right there to describe exactly what that effort would be like. But yeah, that was really the design, right? And we had MechWarrior Online's PvP, and we developed a single-player game and added co-op PvE. So you have one game that's entirely PvE, one game that's entirely PvP. So we do, and that's kind of exactly what we're doing right now. Obviously, there's not a lot of cross synergy, although MechWarrior Online talks a lot about MechWarrior 5 and its banners and various things like that. We just don't really have the same sort of marketing capability within MechWarrior 5 to kind of funnel players back the other way, other than perhaps MechWarrior 5 mercs. So anyhow, we're pretty much doing as you described there. Comstack says, what kind of future features improvements won't be paid DLC? Well, I certainly don't have a list for you, but I can say that every time we're talking about a DLC and we say, hey, here's our April DLC, and we start listing off features, there's always going to be a list of like, here's the DLC and here's the free update. So the free update is a smaller list, but it's a list of things that That's a number of things. It's either something that's getting done around that time frame, but we don't feel fits into the feature set of the DLC. Okay, so we just put it into the free update. Or perhaps it's something that the game kind of needs to have in general in order to support the DLC. But so we make that just a part of the free update. So yeah, there will be free updates as well in the future to go along with these paid DLCs. I just won't be able to, clearly go into the specifics. But once we get into the first DLC announcement or something, I'm sure we'll be also listing off like a patch notes for like a free update at the time as well. Are we going to be providing a mod packaging guide once we get this update out?
Fortunately, a guide won't really be necessary. It'll be so simple. Our plan really is just integrated into the editor. So when you want to create a mod, click the create mod button, fill out the details, the name of the mod, and some of the metadata like author name and version number, all kind of stuff. And then do your stuff, do your work, and then when you're ready to package it up, our hope is to just click the package mod button, confirm some of the details that you said earlier, click OK, and it'll just do it for you, and then boom, you've got the pack file, and then you're good to go. So our hope is the goal of the system really is to make it as easy as possible. Right now, people are futzing around with command lines and cooking the project as a whole, and it's a bit of a nightmare. So we want to fix that. So.
Okay, so Matt, if you're there, make sure you clip that sound bite. Just that, be so simple you won't need one. I'm going to use that on Alex later.
Oh yeah, we definitely got to quote him on that.
All right. There's a question here from Deep Perny about a wiki that no one's using on modding. I don't know what to say about that one. Like, I think our perspective here at Piranha is that we're trying to minimize the number of things that we're doing and responsible for because we're so busy. So like we have the Discord channel, and if we're able to kind of lean on whether it's like a Epic Games Store marketplace functionality or Nexus mods or something, like I think we're all about that. At least that's kind of the way I'd answer that. If some of the other staff see that differently, want to jump on that, that's cool, but that's how I kind of see it. How to set free camera in game? That seems like something that we have, right?
Yeah, what is it? Control Shift V. I think you need a gamepad though to actually navigate with it, but it's
Control Shift V, and there's actually documentation on the day one patch, but we're working on a resource page for the website that should be up by next week or end of next week. That will have downloadable instructions and stuff there.
DLCs have a free portion. Yep, I answered that. There will be. Do you plan to bring any more story-based content into the upcoming DLCs that will allow us to get out of mechs and do something? Get out of mechs? No. That's a big, big undertaking if you mean like kind of like be a human and walk around the shop or something. No. Sorry, that's some very robust and motivated modders can handle that. In and out of mechs whenever we want. I just don't know. Kind of similar answer. It's really mission-based, the entire structure right now. I'm not sure exactly how that would work either. Like if you want to like climb out of one in your mech bay and just walk over to another one in your mech bay. Or if you mean like in mission. So I'm going to kind of leave that there. Official modding guides. Well, we do have the one for the editor, and then I guess Alex kind of answered it that, once you get this update out, it's going to be so easy. Play the soundbite right there.
Whoa! Just to clarify, that one part will be easy. A lot of this is going to be hard as hell. Modding is not.
Yeah, no, just official modding guides. Modding is for the. Well, and there's all levels of mods. Some are easy. Some are like change a color and something, and some are like way up there. Like very dedicated individuals that are essentially doing full game development. So, yeah. I'm interested to see what happens. So I got a phone call at 4 sharp, so I'm going to have to go in just a couple more minutes. Are you open to developing more new mech packs for MWO this year when MechWarrior 5 is stable? I'm open to it, Renzer. We'll see. Yeah, I've had a few thoughts bouncing out of my head. We'll see. Is VR something we need to mod in ourselves? You know what? I guess we got to find time to think about this internally, kind of on that same list of like, we need to explore this, we need to figure this out. I imagine it's probably very easy to mod as well, since it's such a base Unreal function. You'd probably be able to do this. I'm just kind of guessing here. The problems you're going to have, the same problems that kind of stay our hand a lot. It's like, it's not a problem getting VR to work. It's a problem of, even if you were going to live with like not having a dedicated HUD or front end experience or anything, but just having just purely for rendering the games from a cockpit experience and a basic cockpit experience of free looking, that would be pretty easy to do. It's just a matter of, are you going to have enough frame rate per eye for this to work? So, yep, I don't know what else to say about that. I know Alex is a big fan, but we don't have any big news for you yet on that part.
Yeah, I will say at the moment, technically it's not possible because the plugin required for enabling VR in the mod editor is not enabled. And to enable it, you need to build code. So looking at this is on my list of things to...
There you go. It's on the list for this possible patch you're saying, right?
Future patch, I'll say.
Future, okay, yeah. Career mode, yeah, people are excited about that. I'm glad. Salvage Igors. Well, you are salvaging pretty much. By the way, I think every tank and everything you kill in the game, that weapon pool and item pool and stuff is coming from everything. I believe even Igors, but not to put them on your side. Although modders might do that. And I'm not sure what the future will hold. Like I can only, again, we really kind of look about 6 months in the future with our DLC plans, so I'm sure it can expand. But yes, Igors. Rampage, I like your question. I think I'll just say I think we're considering some of this stuff. It would make a lot more sense with the new career mode coming out. So I'll just leave it there, and Alex, take a note in case. Can I expect Clan Tech to show up or need to be modded in? Well, it kind of depends on when you want it and at what level and what, something big, legit, full forced mech or clan expansion pack. I mean, if there's one surefire giant mega expansion pack, it would be around clans probably, wouldn't it? I'll just leave it like that as a question. But if you want to play your Timberwolf like in March, then someone's going to mod it in for you. Huh. Yeah, Renzer, we're talking, is your guy going to age and die? At one point we thought, geez, we're going to have to make these characters age because you're going through like this 34-year career. But, that's just something that would have been really nice to have, but was just way outside of scope for our, character capabilities. Obviously, at Piranha Games, we are good at certain things, maybe even close to experts at certain things. Mech combat simulation, all those experiences of MechWarrior Online, now MechWarrior 5, and those are the strengths, those are the high points of our games. Character stuff was new to us. We pushed ourselves hard to accomplish even what we did in Mech 5, and we actually came quite a ways in that area. But, there's some things to think about there. I don't know, Alex, if you see any jump on them, I'm going to do one more, and then I got to go.
I think actually we're going to end this at 4, right?
Yeah, I got to go. I got to be on a call by 4, so I'm going to go just a bit earlier than that.
Yeah, I'll try and hit a few more mod things in the couple minutes we have left.
Okay, well, maybe I'll just leave it to you guys then. I want to thank everyone for coming. Thank you for your patience. Thanks for enjoying the game. Thanks for playing. Spread the word. And we are working on improving the modding thing as fast as we can and making sure that you understand what your time will be best suited to. And MechWarrior Online players, thanks. Keep playing. Don't worry about it. Bye, guys.
All right, so we only got a couple minutes here. I'm going to just run through a couple of the mod ones I see here. But afterwards and over the next days and weeks, I'll be in the modding chats, modding general, mod builders. So poking in there, answering some questions. So for now, releasing select community-made mods and packs as free DLC. I think it's worth looking at some sort of like, when we reach the third milestone or the next milestone of being able to better present for lack of a better term, the workshop support in game. We could start looking at stuff like endorsements and putting particular user mods in a little panel off to the side. I think that's worth thinking about when we get there. Sorry, just looking through some of the more for mod specific ones.
Hey, Alex, were you going to mention that thing we talked about today?
The what?
The thing. No, I mean, we were talking about having specific days where devs with specific capabilities came and stopped by in the Discord and answered questions, right?
Yeah, so still working that out with the team, just kind of making sure that we put something in place that kind of works best for everybody. And so I'll keep everybody posted on when those might occur and the structure they might be in. Whether it's a couple of devs being available for an hour on a specific day, I'll make sure that's all messaged correctly. So basically the gist is, yeah, we'll be working toward kind of like a little bit better communication between the dev team and when it comes to modding questions and things like that. So we'll keep everybody posted on that. So I don't see too many mod specific stuff, a lot of feature requests and things like that I can't touch on too much. Somebody did ping me. Renzer heard that after the campaign is over, the mission stopped generating. That should not be true. In fact, when the campaign finishes, there actually should be, I think, 5 new quest lines, procedural quest lines in each of the factions, I believe. But procedural missions in general, I think those keep going. If it doesn't, I guess let me know. Might be a bug, but I'm pretty sure they still keep going.
Yeah, if you guys are having any issues, you can always email support@mw5mercs.com or technical@mw5mercs.com.
Yeah, so that might cover it. We're at 4 o'clock. One last mod at the bottom here. Is there capability to mod in another base or dropship hub? Yeah, technically. If you've got the mod tool, you can notice that the hangar hub that you spawn in, that's just a level that gets referenced by the overarching game campaign mode. I haven't tried it, but I'm pretty sure you could just make your own level. There may be some relationships between mech spawning and things like that you would have to make sure are the same, but I believe so. You'd be able to make your own hub. All right, so I think that covers it.
Awesome. Thanks, Alex.
Yeah, and I'll be around, through the weeks. And yeah, thanks for the interest, everybody, in the mod support. It's been great to see how much stuff has come out, even with some of the limitations you're encountering. So once we get those blockers out of the way, it'll be cool to see just how much further things go.
Cool. Thanks a lot, everybody. We're going to end the AMA now. Dev update and the question portion of that, and I'm gonna jump off the stream here. I've actually got to go head home as well, but yeah, thanks a lot. We'll keep you guys posted as we figure out what else we're gonna do to help support the modding, and as we can release information about the DLC, we'll do that too. Thanks a lot.
See you, folks.
Bye.
This podcast is supported by you, the viewer. Please consider supporting us in the following ways. Subscribe to our Twitch channel at twitch.tv/NGNGTV. Become a podcast patron at patreon.com/NoGutsNoGalaxy. Shop on Amazon using our affiliate link at NoGutsNoGalaxy.net. Or shop our new merch store featuring our new NGNG logo at NoGutsNoGalaxyStore.com. This was your local No Guts No Galaxy MechWarrior podcast signing off for tonight. This is Darren. Until next time, Mech Warriors.
It'd be best if you avoid me, but I know you probably can't. You sense something is wrong with me. You can feel it on my skin, but there is more within. Maybe I can be closer now. you probably thought it was normal, just a little off. The truth is at one time I was, but now I'm a robot. Forever